Today, we are going to be talking about how to get your spouse to fall back in love with you and stay in love with you in 4 steps. And I am super excited to be joining you all today and going through this information with you because I believe it is going to have a huge impact on you, on your relationship, and on the future of your marriage going forward. I see people joining in as we're starting this webinar. I'm excited to jump right in and get started. I would love to hear from all of you first and know where everyone is joining us from. So you'll see if you're joining us live, there's a chat button and you can type things in. I'm definitely scanning that. We also have members of our team who will be looking through the chat and the questions as we go as well, answering questions from you. But I would love to get started by knowing where people are joining us from because it's always super exciting to see all over the world where people come from. And all over America, of course, as well. So we have Washington State, Houston, North Carolina, Chicago, Melbourne, Australia, Puerto Rico, Arkansas, Laguna Beach, right down the road from where I live, here in the Thompson Station area of Tennessee, South Dakota, Portugal, Zimbabwe, super fun, London, Canada, Oregon, Idaho, Kentucky, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, California, Phoenix, Saskatchewan, Nashville, represent California, Philadelphia, UK, tons of really fun and amazing places. Well, thank you all so much for joining us, and I'm excited to share this with you. It's going to be honestly just giving you a small taste, what we talk about in today's webinar. You're going to leave here with having actionable things. You're going to understand. I'm going to back up a minute. You're going to understand the process of how people fall in love by the end of this webinar. And I guarantee you that at the end of this, you're going to be able to look back and say, oh my goodness, I know what I need to do differently in order to move my marriage forward in a positive direction. No matter where your marriage is right now, you will be able to see, you're going to see a bigger picture here. You're not going to get stuck in these small details from the things you're seeing in your life right now. You're going to see the bigger picture of how falling in love happens and what you can begin doing differently to fall in love again or more in love with your spouse. So without further ado, let's get started. What is one word that you would use to describe your marriage right now? So you can go ahead and go back to that comment section and start typing in what is one word right now you would use to describe your marriage. It may be different from the word you would have picked yesterday. That's because our relationships are living, breathing organisms and they're changing on a day-to-day basis. Some of you are saying limbo, broken, disaster, heartbreaking, rocky, divorce, a mess, terrible, separated, hopeless, crisis, threatened, broken, a lot of crisis, a lot of hopeless. I'm seeing that just come over and over, a lot of separated. No matter what that word is that you would pick right now to describe your marriage, I see cold, I see chaotic, whatever that word is, and many of you, most of you here, it's not a positive word. And I want to encourage you and reassure you that it's okay for your relationship to be in the place that it's in right now. And that doesn't mean that it has to be destined for divorce. It doesn't mean that it has to be destined for failure. I see the word devastating. I want to help you and encourage you over this next couple of minutes that we have together to give you a picture and a vision of how your marriage can change, how things can be not back to the way that they were before, but better than they've ever been. Because with the work that we have done at Marriage Helper, we have seen thousands of marriages saved, even when the worst has happened, even when they're separated, even when they filed for divorce, even when there's currently an affair, even when there is no hope, there is chaos, there's confusion, there's devastation, we have still seen those marriages saved. So I want to give you hope today in what you're going to hear because I believe it can begin to make a difference in your relationship. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kimberly Holmes. I'm the CEO of the organization Marriage Helper. The MA beside my name stands for my master's degree that I have in psychology. I also have training as a marriage and family therapist, as well as I'm currently getting my PhD in psychology, which is super fun. So those are just a lot of words to say. I do research, I read things, I try and apply the best research that there is out there that goes with relationships and how to make individuals even better people. But we also at Marriage Helper, we are a research-based organization that juxtaposes that research with real life experience to see if it works in the lives of people. So everything we teach is research-based, experience-proven, that leads us to a proprietary process that we teach people of how to fall in love, grow in love, stay in love, and rescue lost love. But you see, the thing is, there is a process to falling in love. It's not just that one day you ended up seeing your spouse and it was fate, or it was coincidence, or you just had that chemistry. And it's not that you found your soulmate, because none of those things are actually real. There's an actual scientifically based process to falling in love. I'm going to give you a super brief overview of what that process is today, but it's going to be quick. I'm going to be touching on the highlights, and every little thing that we talk about has so much more, hours more of content that I could teach you about to tell you how it all works, but we don't have the time right now. So I'm going to tell you that there is a process to falling in love, and it looks a little something like this. This is the LovePath. The process to falling in love is called the LovePath. We have created it here at Marriage Helper. And if you follow the process, then you can fall in love or more in love. But if you stop following the process, then you can fall out of love, even if you don't mean to. But falling in love, the whole process, that whole big thing that I just showed you, it starts with attraction. And attraction has multiple parts of that as well. Let me go back just a slide real quick. Attraction has multiple facets of it. And even when you think about how you and your spouse, before you even started dating, when you first found each other, when you first maybe saw each other across the bar or the college campus or wherever it was, even if you met online, then there was something that attracted you to your spouse from the get-go. It was probably physical, and there's nothing wrong with that. But even after that physical part of it, it really led you to know more about your spouse. And this part of being attracted to your spouse led you to decide whether or not you wanted to move closer to your spouse. Attraction, if you think of it this way, it's kind of like a magnet. There's going to be some people that are very magnetized towards you because who you are, the ambiance you give off, is attractive to them. And it's the same with how there are some people that you are super attracted to, but maybe your best friend is not at all attracted to them. And that's okay. We don't all have to be attracted to the same people, but all of it, the falling in love, entering into a relationship, keeping a relationship going, it starts with attraction. Now, a lot of times when people hear the word attraction, they automatically think that it's all about looks, and it's not. Actually, looks is a very tiny part of what actually makes up true attraction. The full body of attraction is a very little part of it is looks. It has to do with so much more than that. Although looks can be what initially raises someone's eyebrow to say, hey, that person has a great smile, great eyes, they're tall, they have broad shoulders, whatever that might be. And it can cause you to want to know more about that person, to want to move closer to them. But you, as well as I, know that just because someone looks good doesn't mean that you actually want to have a relationship with that person. So when it comes to attraction, there's actually 4 areas of it. The first of it is physical. Now, physical attraction, I just talked about looks. It doesn't just have to do with looks. Physical attraction is way more encompassing of that than that. And if you know me or have followed anything that I've done, then you know I am passionate about this part of falling in love, this attraction part of the process of the love path. I have a whole podcast called It Starts With Attraction. Every week we talk about different areas and aspects of attraction, but I'm very passionate about the fact that the physical part of a person has more to do with how you feel inside your body than how you look. Physical attraction is not about reaching a certain weight. It's not about fitting into a certain pant size. It's not about having a certain percent of body fat or lean body mass. Those can all be aspects of it, but the greater part of what physical attraction really is how do you feel in your body for your age and situation in life? Because if you are eating well and you're exercising and you're sleeping great and you're reducing your stress and you have a lot of energy, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the scale says. It doesn't matter what diet you're following. It matters that you feel good. And if you feel good, then you are going to act good in the relationships that you have in your life. But you probably know the opposite of this to be true as well. Have any of you ever lost a night of sleep and the next day you're cranky, you're tired, you just don't feel good? You're actually more likely, even just the science of it, you're more likely to get sick if you don't have a good night's sleep. So you really just don't feel good. Well, if that part of you is off, you're going to be snippy with your kids, snippy with your spouse. If you're eating food that makes you feel bad, you're going to have less patience. You're going to be more irritable. You're going to be more frustrated with yourself. All of these things end up having an impact on you when you don't feel good physically. So if each of these areas of attraction, this is the first one, were to have a question associated with it, then the question that physical attraction would ask is, do I feel the best that I can in my body for my age and situation in life? This is the first part of attraction. Let's head to the next part. The second part of attraction, I told you there's 4. The second part of attraction is intellectual attraction. So with this one, I said a little bit earlier, have you ever met someone who was just beautiful physically or so handsome? I mean, from across that bar or across that campus, you thought that person is one of the most beautiful specimens I've ever seen. Then maybe you go up to them and you begin talking to them and you realize that they have an IQ of a carrot. You can't have a conversation with them. They have nothing to talk about with you, and you don't know how, even if you were to date this person, how you would even enjoy talking to them because you aren't able to connect on any sort of level. We as humans are attracted to people that we have things in common with. Even if you look at the research, we tend to marry people who are within 5 years of our age, who have a similar upbringing, have a similar socioeconomic background. And all of that is not to say that if you marry someone who is different than you in any of those ways, it can't work. It simply gives us a view into how humanity connects with each other, that we want to be in a long-term relationship with people who we have a similar understanding of the world with, but also people that we can talk to. Because the more I have in common with you, the more we're going to have to talk about. And therefore, conversation is easier. And all of that is important in a relationship. No one wants a long-term relationship where you come home at the end of the day and you don't talk. You want that best friend. You want the person that you share at least some hobbies. You don't have to share all of your hobbies or interests with them, but there are some that overlap and they provide things that you can talk about with each other. We can continue to become more intellectually attractive when we are reading, when we're watching documentaries, when we're continuing education in some way, formal or informal, taking up a new hobby, all of those things. But typically the unfortunate thing that happens in many of our relationships is that we stop talking. I get really caught up in my hobbies and interests. I start doing more of that. My husband, he'll start doing more of what he likes to do. And if neither of us take the intentionality to say, hey, tell me about that thing you love. Tell me more about history. Tell me more about the news you just read. Tell me more about whatever it might be, then you're gonna drift apart if you're not doing things that keep you together. Intellectual attraction helps you to do that. So the question that intellectual attraction asks is, am I a fascinating person to talk to? Does my spouse look forward to coming home and speaking with me at the end of the day? Does my wife look forward to coming home and speaking with me at the end of the day? Or are we always just talking about really stressful things? Are we always just talking about the kids or the mortgage or the finances or the frustrations of our life? Because that doesn't make us fascinating people to talk to when we're always focusing on the negative. We need to be focusing on how do we become exciting, fascinating? How can we take up more hobbies or interests or grow our minds so that we have things, exciting things to talk about that don't just focus on the frustrations of life? The third part of attraction is emotional attraction. So think of your best friend. For some of you, this may very well be your spouse. For many of you, you're going to think of someone else in your life who you really love to call, talk to, spend time with. Just think for a minute of that person. This is probably someone that you enjoy the way that you feel when you're around them. They listen to you. They respect you, they empathize with you, they take the time to understand you when you're talking to them. They're not going to attack you when you share something with them that's difficult to hear. They are the person that you want to go to when things get rough because you know they're going to cheer you up. Emotional attraction is all about evoking emotions within other people that they enjoy feeling. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint here that most people don't even realize that this is part of attraction, but this is the part of attraction that if you don't do this well, if you're not focusing on how you're evoking emotions within other people, and you're actually evoking emotions within them that they don't enjoy feeling, it's going to push them away quicker than anything. You can probably think of some people in your life who treated you like crap, who were total jerks or total jerkettes. They were just people who did not treat you in a way that you wanted to be treated. You didn't like how you felt when you were around them. I have a friend who a couple of years ago was dating a guy, and they started dating in the winter. Summer came, so they've been dating like 5 or 6 months at this time, and they started going to the pool together. And her boyfriend looked at her at one point and he said, you know, you would look so much better in that swimsuit if you lost 15 pounds. Do you think that that evoked emotions within her that she enjoyed feeling? The answer is absolutely not. And we hear a story like that and think, that's appalling. How could he? Of course he was an idiot to say that. But I want to ask you a question. How often do you do that without realizing it on a day-to-day basis? You know, I would really love coming home to a clean house. You know, you would look so much better in that suit if you would lose a couple of pounds and start working out. You know, I really wish that you would just do more and stop putting so much pressure on me to carry the entire load of this household on my shoulders. They're phrases that we say because we're frustrated and we mean them and we want to talk about them. We want to find a solution, but the way that we go about it evokes emotions within the other people in our life that they don't enjoy feeling. You see, when we're dating, we're on our best behavior, right? Our spouse could come to us and tell us anything when we were dating before we get married. They could have told us anything and we would have listened and understood and cared and been empathetic and hugged them and appreciated them sharing it. But then when we get married, when our spouse does something we don't like, it gets added to a list of the things that they need to change. And what ends up happening is our spouse then feels like they have to change in order for us to love them. And we're going to talk more about that in just a minute. We had a couple several years ago who came to our workshop, and the wife was, you would never know it, but she was a commander in the Navy. She was highly esteemed. She had many, many Marinesmen working under her. And you would never know it when she walked through the door of our workshop on Friday morning because Her head hung down, her shoulders were deflated. She couldn't even look people in the eye. And soon we figured out why. It was because her husband, for everything she would say, you don't think that way. You don't feel that way. That's not how that word is pronounced. And everything she was doing, he was correcting her. And he thought he had great intentions. Well, I'm just trying to help her be better. She should know if she's not pronouncing the word the right way, whatever it is. But how do you think she felt? Beaten down, downtrodden, disrespected, worthless. You see, it doesn't evoke emotions within others that they enjoy feeling if we're constantly reminding them how they're not doing things right, how they're not good enough. Even if it's not our intention, if that's the way it's coming across, then things need to change. These actions can also be more subtle. It could be that you're distracted, that you're working too much and not spending any time at home, or that when you are home, you're looking at your phone and the message it's sending to the people that you live in your house with is, you're not important to me. For some of these, I am preaching to the choir. I have been off social media for 3 months now because 3 months ago, I realized I was spending way too much time looking at a screen and not looking at my husband and my children in the eyes. And I knew a change had to happen. I have to ask myself this on a daily basis. I believe you should too. Do I evoke emotions within others that they enjoy feeling? I can have the same message I want to get across. I can be frustrated and want my husband to do more household chores with me. But the way that I approach that conversation and that situation, if I'm looking to do it in a way that is going to evoke emotions within him that he enjoys feeling, I'm going to take a totally different approach and a much healthier approach for our relationship, as opposed to if I don't think about how I make him feel at all. This is an important part of attraction. And the fourth and final part of attraction is the spiritual part of attraction. This doesn't necessarily have to do with faith or religion, although those are huge indicators that drive our spiritual attraction. It has more to do with what our beliefs and values are. So these are the core of who we are. These are the things that we hold dear to us. And they are shaped by our life experiences, what our parents taught us, relationships that we've had, education that we've had in our lives. Let me give you an example of this. When I was 6 years old, I went on a cruise with my parents. And we were we went to Belize, we went to Honduras, we went to all these really great places. But I remember being in Honduras. We spent the day doing a river safari, walking on the beach. My mom was collecting seashells. And at the end of the day, we were going back to the cruise to re-embark back on it. And there were these 3 young children that approached us. One of them was a bit younger than me, so probably 4, 6, and 7 years old were about the ages of these kids. And they didn't have shoes on. They had very tattered clothes. They did not look like they were kept up very well. And they were selling seashells. And I remember my mom bought 3 seashells from them. And I remember we had been an hour earlier on the beach walking in Honduras. My mom had a bag full of seashells. And if you know anything about my mother, which most of you do not, then you know that when she lets go of a dollar bill, George Washington's face is blue. I mean, she is so frugal, loves saving money, loves yard sales, all of those fun things. And here she was purchasing seashells that I knew we didn't need. So once the children left, I said, Mom, why did you just buy those seashells? You have a ton of them. We just picked up 20 of them. To which my mom and dad looked at me and they said, Kimberly, those children don't have anything. This may be their only chance to put food on their family's table tonight. We didn't get them because we wanted the seashells. We got them because we wanted to help these children. That experience in my life, to this day when I think about it, I can't tell the story without getting emotional because I vividly remember everything about that moment. I remember thinking how many toys I had at home, a room full of toys, how blessed I was, how fortunate I was. And the reason I'm telling you this story is because that moment, that experience shaped me. It put within me a very specific and special set of beliefs and values. That's just one part of the beliefs and values of who I am that I continue to hold dear to this day. I started caring about orphans and about children and doing something to help those who were less fortunate. It was something that began to be a passion of mine. When my husband and I started dating, I remember that I had just gotten back from being in India for 3 weeks at an orphanage. And so on our very first date, the first thing I said to him was, just so you know, one day I'm adopting children from India. To which he said, great. Awesome. Continued our date. Everything was fine. I dropped pizza in my lap. It was a whole thing. But you see, here's the thing, because I came into our relationship with a strong set of beliefs and values. That was just one of many. We all have beliefs and values. We all have things that drive us and that we're passionate about. I don't know what yours are, but I know that you have them. You went into your relationship with these beliefs and values. It might be beliefs about how you believe people should be treated. It might be a belief about political belief, about how you think things should be. It might be religious beliefs. There's not just one. You have hundreds, if not thousands, of things that you believe and value. Putting your family first, saving and having enough money in your bank account to feel financially safe, whatever it is for you. When you enter into a relationship and you have those beliefs and values, your spouse found that attractive about you. We find it attractive when people stand up for things that they believe in and do things to make differences in the world. Look at Mother Teresa. Look at Gandhi. Look at all of these people. There's more that aren't just Indian, I'm sure. Martin Luther King. Look at the people who have made a huge impact on the world. We're attracted to those people because they want to make a difference. We have that within us as well. What are the things that drive you? What are the things that motivate you? What are you passionate about? What makes you angry? Don't downplay these things. We live in a society that says, be more open-minded. Don't say what your beliefs and values are, but your beliefs and values make you who you are. We should be respectful. We should be caring in everything we do, but we shouldn't downplay the things that drive us. They let people be attracted to us. I don't know that I could have married my husband if he was not on board about one day adopting. And it totally worked out for us because you can see we have a beautiful family. We brought our children home. My husband and I have been married 10 years next month, and we brought our children home 2 years ago. Have you ever seen 2 more beautiful children in your life? The answer is no, just so you know. These are the most beautiful children you will ever see in your entire life. But the question that beliefs and values, the question about spiritual attraction is, are you living in line with your beliefs and values? Are you saying that family is important to you, but then you're not actually doing things to put your family first? Are you saying that giving back to your community is important to you, but you haven't done anything to do that in a long time? I want to encourage you to start living in line with your beliefs and values. So which of these, question for all of you, be sure to type in your answer. Which of these areas of the pies do you believe is most important for a long-term relationship? For your marriage, which of these areas of the pies do you think is most important? They all are important, and I want to just re-emphasize here that every single part of the pies, the physical, the intellectual, emotional, the spiritual, is you need to have it your whole life long. It's not that you just focus on one at one point and you're done and you've checked it off the list and you can move forward. Every single day, we can do things to focus on our pies and become the best that we can be. All of these are important for as long as we live, as long as we're in relationship. And most of you, dozens of you, hundreds of you have typed in, and absolutely, emotional attraction is the most important part of attraction for long-term relationships, because you can be beautiful and smart, but if you treat other people in a way where they don't want to be around you, then the relationship isn't going to last long. Looks don't last. You have to build your relationships on evoking positive emotions within other people. Now let's go back to the love path. We've talked about attraction. Now we're going to move on to the second phase, which is acceptance. And acceptance is basically this: choosing to love someone without expecting them to change. In the workshop that we do, our turnaround weekend workshop that has a 77% success rate at saving marriages, we spend so much time teaching people how to accept their spouse without expecting them to change. This is something that does not come naturally to us as humans, but it is crucial for long-term relationships. I can't even go into all of the ways that you can begin to do this and the things you need to understand, because there's so much education and psychoeducation and just principles that you need to understand, all of which we teach in our weekend workshop, which I highly recommend that you go through. But the bottom line is acceptance is choosing to love someone without expecting them to change. And it's only once someone feels completely accepted that they will feel the freedom to change. As psychologist Carl Jung is famously quoted as saying, "If I accept myself as I am, I change. If I accept others as they are, they change." We have a fear as humans that if we accept someone just as they are, what if they never change? What if my spouse is involved in this terrible thing that they're doing, whether it's an affair or an addiction, they're gambling all of our money away? Is me accepting them and what they're doing, is me accepting them condoning what they're doing? We feel like those have to go together, and the answer is they don't have to go together. In fact, most of the time, they're two totally separate things. I can accept and love someone because of who they are, separate from what they may be doing. I can treat them with respect. I can treat them with love. And I can still want things to change, but not tie my love to them changing. It's two different things. So let's go back to the love path. So that second phase is acceptance. We have to know and feel accepted, both people in a relationship. But the stage after that, after you've accepted and things feel good, is attachment. For us to attach in relationships, we need to trust that the other person will be there for us, period. You see, attachment actually started in the 1950s, 1960s to become a term that people use with psychologist Dr. John Bowlby. And he started assessing and analyzing how children would react when they did not have the consistent presence of their caregiver, whether that was a mother or some other type of caregiver. Most of the time it was the mother. And what he found was children who believed that their mother would come back, even if their mother left. And when their mother was there, the mother was present. The mother was taking care of them, focusing on the child. Those children had the best attachment. As they grew up, they felt more independence. They felt secure enough in their relationship to go out and explore. And they knew when to come back when they would get scared or afraid. Other children, though, who didn't have that consistency of someone being there for them in their life, one of two things ended up happening. Either they would become what was called anxious, where they would cry all the time, they would whine, they would pine after their caregiver who left them. They would try and do things, they would try and do things in order to get the attention of the mother so that the mother would meet their needs. It's heartbreaking. The other thing that would happen is the child so didn't believe that the mother cared or would even come that they didn't even look at her. They just would go, they would be alone, they would put walls up, and they were these avoidant children. And as they got older in their relationships, they would become avoidant. And the other people, the anxious people in their relationships, they would become anxious. And This came to what is now known as attachment theory and attachment styles. But when you boil down all the research, and there are thousands of pages of research, of which I have read very many of them, the bottom line is that for us to feel like we are secure in our time, because this is an important part, and most of the time, attachment issues did not begin in the current marriage. They began in childhood or in a first romantic relationship, which may be your marriage, but it could have been something else. Now it brings us to the fourth and final stage of the process of falling in love, which is aspiration. In aspiration, that stage basically is a stage, honestly, that most couples never get to, but most couples need to get to. It's what brings us back together when life pulls us apart. Aspiration is about having a shared goal vision to have 2.4 kids and live in the pretty house with the white picket fence. And then after you have the kids and you move into the house, what's next? The unfortunate, without vision, we die. We have nowhere to go and all day to get there. And that doesn't lead for productive relationships. Marriage Helper actually began as the aspiration of my parents. You see, back in the 5 years out, this was his life. In that circle he was in, you could very well say he was very famous. And it was at that time that he had an affair, left my mom, and divorced her with my 2 older sisters who were alive at that time, and left them. And they were divorced for 3 years. All of the words you said at the beginning of this, of how you would describe your marriage right now, hopeless, confusing, devastating, separated, lost, is exactly how my parents' marriage was. After 3 years of living this way, where everyone else had given up, they had been divorced for 3 years, he came back to my mom, asked her to take him back, to which everyone in her life said, don't do it. No, absolutely not. My mom, though, knowing that he was a good man who had done a bad thing and wanting to do what was right for their children, took him back. They got remarried. They almost divorced a second time, because just because they got remarried and came back together didn't mean they had actually fixed any of their problems, but they were committed to do it. They fixed it. They figured it out. And my father, who's always been a researcher, always been a prominent speaker, in 1999, he created a 3-day workshop for marriages that has a 77% success rate at saving the marriage. Even according to the American Association of Marriage and Family Therapy, which is the overarching organization that has all of the marriage and family therapists in America under it, they hold success. They would consider success for counselors to be a 30 to 50% success rate after 3 years of a couple going to marriage counseling. Our workshop has a 77% success rate. And the people who come to our workshop are the ones where there is divorce filed. Divorce has already happened, where they are separated, where there's an affair currently happening, where there is one spouse who does not want to be there as they are in the workshop. We have all of the reasons for these marriages not to work, and we still have a 77% success rate. And it's because of my parents' story. It's because my dad and my mom took my dad back, that we now have this beautiful family. And as part of my parents' aspiration, when they got back together, they said, how can we use what we have been through to help other people? And now, 21 years after they started this workshop, because of their story and their aspiration as a couple, tens of thousands of marriages have been saved. I don't know of a better shared vision for a couple to have than that. And I can even see now, many of you are typing and saying, but my husband says that nothing will ever work. But my wife is saying that she really just wants out. You can name the excuses all day long. I get that's what your spouse is saying. That doesn't change the fact that you have the ability to do things now to change your relationship. Even if nothing else works, you will become a better person because of it. But why not do everything you can? Stop listening to the excuses and figure out how can you begin to make this work. The Marriage Helper Turnaround Weekend that we have helps people fall in love again, rescue lost love, and at the end of the day, it really shows a vision of how the marriage can be different. It's a 3-day turnaround weekend. It has a 77% success rate. There's over 24 hours of educational content. Right now, through the end of 2020, we're still doing it with the online workshops, which we've had amazing reviews about. We'll also share a link in the chat about how you can watch Dr. Joe Beam's personal testament and experience of what he believes about the online workshop, which is an amazing video. And you can save on travel costs because you don't have to travel through the end of 2020. It can help you learn how to co-parent. If all else fails, you still, if you have children, need to learn how to communicate better. In my master's degree that I got, I did my thesis on the effects of divorce on children. And I can tell you 100% that the worst thing that could happen for a child is for their parents to divorce and still have terrible communication with each other. And that's what happens the majority of the time, because people divorce thinking my children are going to be okay. They don't do anything to fix the relationship between the two parents. And then the child has to live through two parents who are supposed to love each other, who now hate each other, and they feel stuck in the middle of it. The best thing that could happen is for a child to watch their parents learn how to communicate, work through things, and save the relationship. Our workshop does that. It teaches you how to communicate, how to forgive, how to move forward, see a new vision for your future, even if your spouse wants out of the marriage. Dr. Adam Matthews, who is a licensed marriage therapist, came and observed our workshop. He said this workshop does in 3 days what it would take 6 to 9 months to do in counseling. He highly recommends it. People have spent thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars on counseling, on other programs before they come to us. They go through our workshop and they say, this is the best thing that I have ever done for myself and for my marriage. And here's the other thing that I want you to hear. We have military discounts. We have first responder discounts. We have public servant discounts. And if you are experiencing any kind of financial issues because of 2020, if you're experiencing any financial hardship, we have scholarships available that you can apply for. If there is a financial need that you have, we have scholarships. All you have to do is apply. We will do everything we can to help get you in the workshop because we believe that this is going to be what is a game changer in your relationship. And I see people asking, they're saying, what if my spouse won't do it with me? Can I do it alone? Yes, we now have a solo spouse workshop that you can go through, learn all of this material. We have had people go through it. You can see the testimonies of people who've gone through that on our website as well. So we have the 2 workshops. You can do it with your spouse. You can do it without your spouse. Both of them are amazing. If you need help deciding which one would be the better one for you, then we have a client relations team that would love to connect with you, tell you the differences in them, and get you involved in the next steps towards getting involved in one of our workshops. The dates of the upcoming workshops, you can find those on our website as well. We have one more this year. I have a slide about it somewhere. We have one more this year. It's actually this coming weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I believe we might still have space available for that one. I'm not 100% sure, but we also have our schedule for 2021 up as well. So if those are dates you're looking for, most of them are going to be done online, especially for the first quarter of 2021. So you can still join from the privacy of your home. You'll be able to take less time off work. You don't have to worry about travel costs. amazing things are happening in that online workshop. And then later in 21, we are considering bringing back our in-person ones that will happen live in Nashville, but we'll always continue with our online ones as well. Some team members that we have. This is Amber and John Lewis. They are such a fun family. Like, I love them. You can see their full testimony video on our YouTube channel. But the short story of it is that 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago now, when Amber only had her son, her older son, and she was still pregnant with her daughter, her husband left her, walked out on her, left her for 10 months. And Amber had no idea what to do. She found Marriage Helper early in her journey, learned about the workshop, and what she knew was that she wanted to get her husband to that workshop. She asked him every other weekend for 10 months to go to this workshop with her. She asked him over 20 times, and he continued to say no. He wanted a different life. He wanted to be happier away from her. He wasn't about to do something to try and make the marriage work. She finally got him to agree to go to the workshop so that he would agree to divorce papers, so that he would finally sign them. And he did it. They left the workshop. Seeds were planted. Several months, about 6 months after the workshop, he finally moved back home. They have restored their relationship. They have a new, we like to call it the Marriage Helper baby, little baby Dansby, because this is a marriage that should have been left for dead, but is saved because Amber had the persistence and the vision to make it work and to stay with it and to do everything she could to make it work. And it did. They are a beautiful family. We have this couple, Jordan and Priscilla Gray, who they came to the workshop. So I told you it has a 77% success rate. Well, Jordan and Priscilla came to the workshop. She was involved in an affair. Amazing testimony. I mean, it was a crazy story. She was involved in an affair. They left the workshop. She divorced her husband. They were divorced for a year. She went to go be with her affair partner. She got pregnant with the affair partner's baby. And several months into, a couple months before she was supposed to have the baby, she realized that she did not know what she had done. She cannot believe what she had done. She wondered if her husband would still take her back. They had already been to the workshop. They had already divorced. This was, by all things considered, not a success story. She called Jordan back, told him everything about the baby, the other man's baby, all of it. He took her back with open arms. They remarried. They now have a beautiful family with 6 children. You would never know. You would never know that that child had any other father than Jordan. Both of these people are on our team now because they are so passionate about how the workshop saved their marriage that they want to help other people save their marriage as well. Some people are asking about, do you have to be in the same location as your spouse for the online workshop? We prefer that, but you do not have to. You can be in 2 separate locations. And I believe this is really great and effective for people who are separated because of work or have a spouse in the military where you're really struggling right now and you need to reconnect, but you can't even be in the same location. You can have 2 separate locations. You can join from 2 separate places. Another question that people are asking is more about dates. You can find that on our website. They want to know if you want to apply for a scholarship for our workshop, the best thing you can do is get connected with one of our client relations reps, and they can run that entire scholarship process for you. You'll have to fill out some things and explain your financial need, but we get those scholarships turned around very quickly and would really love to get you in our workshop. Some testimonials from our workshop that we had. One person said, we attended the online Marriage Helper Turnaround workshop in May. I had separated from him at the end of March, not thinking there was any hope for reconciliation. My husband, found the Marriage Helper workshop and asked me to participate, but I was very reluctant. So for all of you saying my spouse doesn't want to go, that's normal. You can read it right here. After the workshop, I moved back in the following week and our marriage is better than it has ever been. I never imagined that our relationship could make this type of transformation, but both of us have a greater appreciation for the other, as well as are much better able to negotiate so that we feel good about a situation. We listen to each other and are quick to express gratitude. One other person said, it's been approximately 6 years since we attended the Marriage Helper workshop. I went there knowing that my husband would be served with dissolution paperwork after we got home. But while we were there, something changed in him. We have been doing fantastic ever since. It was the best thing that could have happened to us. Even if you have a reluctant spouse, we can help you know how to approach them, how to ask them about going to the workshop. Our client relations team can give you videos to watch and things for you to understand more about our workshop. This is one of the best things. I believe this is the best thing that you could do for your marriage. I also believe that if you know people who are getting married in 2021, that this is the best premarital counseling that you could gift to someone ever. Or if you have children or people you know who they're newlyweds, or even if they're just wanting a refresher. I mean, we talk about how this is for marriages in crisis, but it's just unfortunate that the majority of people don't invest time into their marriage until there's a problem. It would be so much better if people invested time in their marriage as a proactive stance, as opposed to the reactive stance, as a preventative measure, as opposed to an ER type measure where things have gotten so bad now you have to have emergency surgery, as an example. So this is a great gift to give as well. So we talked earlier, where is your marriage today? Do you feel stuck in a miserable marriage? Are you getting over a marriage crisis? Do you have a spouse that wants out, or any combination of those? The Marriage Helper Turnaround Weekend, common situations that we see that we believe this would be helpful for. Even if you have divorce papers that have been served, a spouse that's in an affair, that's moved out, living with someone else, a spouse that's done and can't give a good reason, a spouse that won't talk to you anymore. I would even go as far to say, if you are the one in the affair, if you are done and you don't know if you want to make this work, if you don't even know if you want to be in your marriage anymore, this workshop will give you clarity. We are here for you. We understand what it feels like to be where you are, and we want to help you through this. In our workshop, we give you a strategy and a plan that no one else is teaching. We have one workshop left this year. Dates for 2021 have just been released. My team is also putting it in the chat. And our workshop has a 77% success rate at saving marriages just like yours. Marriages that are still together 7 years later. I say 7 years because the study that was done on it followed them for 7 years. So we could have gone further, but it's amazing stats to say the least. Here's the main point. At Marriage Helper, we believe that there is hope for marriages. We believe that there is hope for your marriage, no matter what has happened. We would love to see you in one of our workshops, even in the situations where people have been commenting in the chat and saying, but my spouse is involved in an affair, they want out. I just found out that they've been hiding things from me. What I'm telling you is, don't let that stop you from moving forward and finding hope for your relationship. Even if you can't get your spouse to agree to go to a workshop with you, then doing our solo spouse workshop where you can do it alone, I guarantee you that you are going to walk away from that workshop with insight about yourself, about the situation, with a plan of knowing exactly what you should do moving forward. And even if the marriage ends up not being able to be saved, because there are going to be those situations, you will have peace, you will feel calmness in the middle of the chaos, and you will know that you did everything you could, and you'll be able to face whatever comes next for you with your head held high, knowing you did everything you could. Please look into the workshop. Please remember that we have the discounts for first responders, military, and public servants, which includes our teachers, which includes people who are on those front lines who are working. We want to be here to serve you. Remember, we have the scholarship please do something to make a change in your marriage for 2021. I would love to see you in one of our workshops. I hope that this process that we've talked about today has given you vision and insight into where things in your marriage have gone wrong, looking back over that process of the love path and giving you at least some guidance to know what you should be focusing on, some things that you can begin doing right now to begin moving your marriage forward, even when it feels like there's no hope. Have an amazing rest of your day, amazing rest of your year. Hope to meet you inside one of our workshops. Bye, everyone.